As you all know that this topic is very important and they always ask you question from this guideline. So let's discuss what kind of questions are frequently asked in the exam. So if you see, the question is calculate the RMI of a patient who came with postmenopausal bleeding. CA125 was 65. Ultrasound showed multiloculated solid component cyst. Now, first of all, whenever you get a question of postmenopausal ovarian cyst, you have to understand that calculation of MRI is very important because RMI calculation is going to tell you if it is less than 200 or more than 200, accordingly the management differs. So here they have directly asked you about calculate, how to calculate it. So this is simple. Most of the time they ask you about a scenario and then they ask you how to manage, where you have to calculate the RMI and fit it into the chart, and then you have to answer the question. So this is simple. You have to calculate the RMI. How you're going to calculate it? Postmenopausal, so it will get a score of 3. CA125 level, which is 65, so 3 into 65. And ultrasound shows multiloculated solid component. So it's very important for us to see ultrasound characters because that gets a score. Just for your knowledge, how to calculate RMI, CA125 into ultrasound score into the menopausal status. So if you see CA125 here is 65, ultrasound feature they told that it's a multiloculated cyst, right? And the solid area, so 2 features they have given you. Then the menopause, it's postmenopausal. So for postmenopausal, the score is 3. So it becomes 65 into 3 because whenever the ultrasound score is 2 or more, it becomes 3. So 65 into 3 into, because of postmenopause, it will get 3. So 65 into 3 into 3. So this is how you have to calculate the RMI for this patient. So the key will be 585. So this is a simple question. This is the simplest you can get in exam on how to calculate the RMI. Now, if you see CA125, it is not only raised in malignant lesion. We all know that it can be raised in benign lesion as well. And the RMI calculation, most importantly, is for postmenopausal women rather than premenopausal. They say that in premenopausal women, the CA125 is not very reliable because it could be raised due to menstruation, due to pregnancy, due to fibroid, endometriosis, PIG, liver problem, pancreas problem, and cancer. So anything which irritates the peritoneum can lead to increase in CA125. That's the basic behind that. That's why it's not exclusive to the malignant lesion. The most important aspect of RMI calculation is for the postmenopausal women, if it is less than 200, the management is different. And if it is more than 200, the management is different. So this is very important segment which you should be very thorough with, that how you should calculate RMI. Another question, a postmenopausal woman, she had simple cyst, 3 into 4 centimeter size and CA125 is 30. How to manage? Now, this is a postmenopausal woman, so score will be 3. Simple cyst, so simple cyst doesn't get a score because multiloculated cyst get a score. CA125, 30. So 30 into 3. So what you should give for the ultrasound score? So let's see again. For ultrasound, simple cyst doesn't get a score, and they have not mentioned any solid area, bilateral, ascites, metastasis, nothing. In such situation, when the ultrasound score is 0, you will be 0. So here, CA125 will keep 30, you will be 0, and postmenopausal will get 3 score. So 90 into 0, because there is no ultrasound score here, so it's 0. So it will become 0. So RMI will become 0. In such situation, it is a low risk because RMI is 0. So what you will do, how you will manage, whenever it is a low risk, how you're going to manage is, you're going to follow up by scan. Follow up by scan and CA125 in 4 to 6 months. So in postmenopausal women, usual follow-up will be 4 to 6 months. So either it will be 3 times a year or 2 times a year at max, according to the women. So here it's looking like low risk because she has a simple cyst, but her score is 0. So you will choose. You can't discharge her to GP. Discharge means discharge from gynecological care to GP care. Here in UK, every gynae patient get referred from GP, and once they come to you, you evaluate them and you follow up with them, and whatever, if you think it is serious, you will give a follow up appointment with yourself, or you, if you feel it is a low risk, you will discharge their care to the GP again. So discharge doesn't fit. Follow up by scan and CA125 in 4 to 6 months is what we want to do. No need of operating because it doesn't fit into the criteria of operating as well. So the answer would be followed by scan and a CA125 in 4 to 6 months. Now let's see the last question. A postmenopausal woman, she had multilocular cyst of size 6 into 4 centimeter and CA125 is 40. How to manage? Again, this is a postmenopausal woman. So first of all, we have to do the RMI calculation. So postmenopausal will get a score of 3. Multilocular cyst get a score, right? So it will get a score of 1. Size doesn't get a score. So CA125 is 40. So 40 into 3 into 1, right? So it will become 120. So score is 120. Still, it is less than 200. So what do you think? How we should manage her? Shall we follow her up? Now here again you have to apply the knowledge of the algorithm they have given in the guideline, which we'll see in the next slide. So that algorithm says that any woman who is either symptomatic or having a multilocular cyst or having a size of cyst more than 5 centimeter, you should operate. So in such situation, the follow-up doesn't fit well in this scenario. So you will choose laparoscopic bilateral salpingoophorectomy. And always remember, for postmenopausal women with ovarian cyst, it's never unilateral. It's always bilateral. Because if they have anything in the ovary, they don't want to leave other ovary as well because they are postmenopausal already. And if you, there is chance that other ovary might be involved or it will develop different problems later. So bilateral salpingoophorectomy is always the answer. And laparoscopy is all right because this is not malignancy. This is you're suspecting that it's high risk and you should remove it. So laparoscopic bilateral salpingoophorectomy will be your answer. Now let's see the logarithm. This is the logarithm. If you see, it's very, very important that you remember this very, very well. So a woman who has a postmenopausal ovarian cyst, if cyst is less than 1 centimeter size, if cystic lesion 1 centimeter or more, then you have to evaluate. So if it is less than 1 centimeter size, you don't have to do anything. Even in previous recalls, they have asked about a cyst of 0.8 centimeter. Sorry. So cyst of 0.8 centimeter. So it is less than 1 centimeter. Then you will just reassure the women. So you will choose the answer of reassurance either or discharge her to GP care or whatsoever. So that size matters. What's the cyst size matter? Then comes how you're going to evaluate if it is 1 centimeter or more. It must be coming in your mind that a postmenopausal women, even 1 centimeter, we are worried. So why? Because postmenopausal ovary are quiescent ovaries. They are no more ovulating. So there shouldn't be any cyst. So 1 centimeter also we want to evaluate. So anything 1 centimeter or more, we are going to evaluate. So what we are going to do? We will do ultrasound for her. We will do CA125 for her. And we will calculate the RMI for her. If it is less than 200, she is low risk of malignancy. That doesn't mean that low risk of malignancy you can't operate. You can operate on them if these criteria are fulfilled. So in the third question, she was having a multilocular cyst. She was having more than 5 centimeter cyst. So it doesn't matter that her RMI is less than 200. You are going to operate, and what you're going to do is bilateral salpingoophorectomy, and usually it will be laparoscopically. So usually bilateral and usually laparoscopic. So in exam you will choose laparoscopic bilateral salpingoophorectomy if they are symptomatic. Sometimes The symptomatic thing doesn't click in our mind. In question, they will say that she presented, because in question it will be a long scenario that a 65-year-old lady came with abdominal pain and you did scan and this that. So abdominal pain is a symptom, or they will say that GI symptoms, that is symptom. So in symptomatic you cannot leave it. If it is non-simple cyst, you can't leave it. So multilocular. If more than 5 centimeter, you can't leave it. If it is bilateral, you can't leave it. So just keep these things in mind. It's very, very important that in such scenario, straight away laparoscopic bilateral or salpingoophorectomy would be your choice. Now, if these criteria are not met and it is asymptomatic, simple cyst, less than 5 centimeter, unilocular, unilateral, then there is a scope of conservative management. And in that, you will do the repeat assessment in 4 to 6 months. Again, in repeat assessment, you will repeat the CA 125 also. So how they ask you in exam sometime? They ask you that you have done the TVS and this shows this in your repeat assessment, you have done the TVS and it shows this. What's your next step? So your next step would be to do CA 125 and calculate the RMI again, right? So at this stage, if her RMI again become more than 200, then she will go in this category. So here again, CA 125 plus TVS is what your goal is. And then accordingly, you will go in further a logarithm. Now, if in your follow-up scan, it resolve, then you will discharge her to GP care. If it is same, there is no change, persistent unchanged, then you have to do the repeat assessment in another 4 to 6 months. So one time, two time, right? You have done that, and then sometimes in exam they ask you that you have done two assessments 6 months apart, and it's unchanged or it's same. There is no features, nothing new development. So what to do? Now here in a logarithm they have written individualized treatment after discussing with the women. So it's not your choice. You have to tell the women that there is a cyst, though it is falling in the low risk criteria, but there is a cyst and we have monitored 2 times, there is no change in the cyst. So it's your choice. Either we can remove it and then you don't need any follow up, or we can leave it and then if you have any symptoms or anything concern, then we will repeat it. So it can be both ways, either discharge from the care or consider the intervention. Because 2 times she didn't have any change, that means you're not going to evaluate her lifetime 6 monthly. You did 2 times no changes. Now the woman has to decide either go for surgery or discharge the care. So this is individualized treatment. If there is any change in features, means if it becomes the ultrasound criteria goes in this, or she becomes symptomatic, or if any increase in CA 125 which makes her more than 200, then any change in feature she will be for intervention. So what will be the intervention? Intervention will be bilateral salpingoophorectomy. So this is how they ask you from every category. They ask you this category, they ask you one follow-up, they ask you two follow-up, they ask you symptomatic, multilocular, they ask you more than 200 RMI also. So if you calculate an RMI, like in our first question, it was 585. So if it is more than 200, then they ask you two type of question. What will be your next step? So next step will be CT scan of abdomen and pelvis, and referral for the gynecological oncology MDT. So MDT referral and CT scan. So if CT scan has not been done, first you'll do the CT scan and then referral. If CT scan has already been done, or in the option you have CT plus referral, you will choose that compared to only referral. So be careful about the words. Sometimes you will have four options. One will be CT scan, one will be CT plus referral, one will be only referral. So you have to choose the combination is what you have to keep in your mind. Then it will be MDT review, and if it is high likelihood of malignancy, then it will be laparotomy with full staging. If it is low likelihood of malignancy, then it will be laparotomy with pelvic clearance, which is TAHPSO, omentectomy, and peritoneal cytology by a trained gynecologist. So if low likelihood, directly they are doing everything, treating by THBSO by a suitable gynecologist. But if it is high likelihood of malignancy, then full staging is what needed by the oncologist. So this is very important. So every step of this chart, every word written in this chart is important to memorize to do the right choice in the exam. Because in exam, they confuse you by simple things like this simple things, asymptomatic, symptomatic. If symptomatic, treat. So these kind of things sometimes when we read the question scenario, we forget. In EMQs, it will be very close option and you confuse. So it's very important that you memorize, and I suggest always my students that write it once. Write 1 or 2 times the chart and then you will never forget it. Because when we are writing, then every word imprint in our brain. While when we are reading, some words will register in brain and some words sometimes will not register. So writing really make uh, a good way of remembrance. And some things are worth writing, like ovarian cyst, like the endometrial hyperplasia chart, which is also endometrial hyperplasia is also there in YouTube recording if anybody wants to go through that, because that is also very important from exam point of view. So this is all about postmenopausal ovarian cyst recall questions. So hope this helps in your preparation, and keep practicing, keep doing good things, and you will succeed in exam. A word about the courses offered with MMRCOG. Recall course only for £99. Self-study plus crash course only for £250. January exam registration is open. In Eid offer, every course is having 50% off, which is quite beneficial. There are mock, you can go through the website to check all the mock series. There are recall plus EMQ course, crash course, many courses are there for July exam. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this recording. Hope you all get benefited by this.